Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our third and final match of day 2 of this weekend. We have a very important game between Quad Gaming and Caverna Esports that has massive playoff implications, especially since INS has just defeated TSN. So, Paul, can you kind of catch me up on the playoff implications of this matchup? What happens if, let's say, Caverna wins?
So, in Group A, right, everybody except base tryhards still has to confirm their playoff spot, right? Base tryhards are in. They're 4-0. Caverna right now is sitting in second place because Predators lost, technically. So they're technically in second right now at 2-1. Should Caverna win, they're in. They're in playoffs. They're good. And then Quad will go up against Sakino next week in a head-to-head to decide who goes to playoffs. However, if Quad pull it out today and win, then Quad, Predators, and Caverna are all 2-2, and everyone can still technically make playoffs. So this is the match to determine what really matters next week.
So there's definitely high pressure, especially coming in for Caverna. And Nairi, who do you think Caverna can rely on as a player that they can really lead them into battle, let's say?
Yo, that's difficult. I would say that Xiaosu on that main tank. I mean, let's face it, main tank, he's the guy, right? He's leading the charge, and Xiaosu has really been showing up. But Cappy Max flexibility has been amazing, and I think that really makes a huge difference for their team.
And Paul, do you think that right now Caverna will be able to pull out that victory? What's your quick prediction?
You know, I think Caverna could win, but it's going to rely on, like Nairi said, Schwazu. And for Quad Gaming, if Aegis can pop off, if they can get him to a place where he can do well on Widow, this is going to be a contested match.
All right, well, we will see if Aegis will be able to get some more of his signature triple kills on Widowmaker. But let's go over to Busan with our casters, Lemon and Hurix.
Thanks, Katrina. We're here in Game 3, final match of the day, final match of Week 4. It's Quad Gaming versus Caverna. The desk already covered how important this match is for both these teams, but what are you excited to see, Hurix?
Well, I'll tell you what, with these two teams, Quad Gaming and Caverna, this has kind of been a redemption arc for them. I think for Quad Gaming, certainly more so, as Caverna has looked a lot better throughout the season. Certainly they have been getting better. Ever since we saw them in trials, they've definitely made a lot of progress. But I think primarily the thing about Caverna is the fact that they have restructured their everything that they have going on. And the main point being that they've kind of centered everything around Maka and Schwazu, which I think has really boosted their abilities so far.
And then there's my first time casting this guy, XQC on a budget, makes Reddit news. It has one of probably the best names in Overwatch, let's be fair. And I haven't got to see his Winston play, and we'll have to see how it goes as we head into Busan, Quad Gaming versus Caverna, and looking like both teams are hovering over the Zenyatta goats.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
What a great image of our boy Tonello there on the right. I love Tonello. I'm gonna put that on broadcast. It's official. It's out there. But I love that guy. Nonetheless, here getting things started, as we do have a mirror on both sides. It's gonna be that Zen versus Zen, Ryan versus Ryan. It's all about who can create the impact early here.
That impact could be Quad Gaming, but they're getting pretty low and already giving up that free space to Caverna. Ponchi already having to use the boost early. Caverna haven't broken through the shields quite yet. Xiaozu gets dangerously low. It's all about positioning both your tanks. Who can you weaken first? Soon as the other tanks get low, you want to charge forward. As the point unlocks, Caverna will be there to meet Quad Gaming.
Oh, they're battling it out on the point, and the Diva, look at that. Silvera up on the high ground right now, just hammering away from up top.
Xiaozu just knocking everyone away. XQC on a budget is down. No main shields for Quad Gaming remaining, but it was a long enough fight that they have support ultimates to go with into the next fight.
Coming away from this fight, it's going to be very similar to a lot of the approaches that we see on this map, especially South American aggression, that style that we're looking for. So Vera took advantage of the fact that he was able to claim high ground. Quad Gaming, we didn't see that look from Leon. He just stayed on the floor and allowed his tank to get shredded from above. Look at the way that they approached this fight, though, where we have a sneaky Schwazu over here with the Earth Shatter, but a different route taken by Quad Gaming to avoid that entirely.
You got everything on the board. Grabs, shatters, everything to worry about. Can your support ultimate save you here? Herofly has to use the Transcendent Snail as well. Barrier from Caverna. All the support ultimates are coming out. Now who will last at the end of this? Leon! Explosive start for Quad Gaming.
What a great stun that came out there just to enable all that to happen. Quad Gaming, absolutely explosive, as you mentioned. I mean, now they're in a position, though, where this is going to be this is going to be a very similar fight to the first one, where there's not a lot on the table for either of these teams, and they're going to approach this probably pretty aggressively as they come around this corner already.
No ultimates on the board, but XQC is getting dangerously too far forward. They're trying to corner Caverna into this small area. Now, can Caverna actually get out of it? XQC, though, gets bursted down so early. Godman not being able to be there for him. And with that pick onto the Reinhardt, Caverna able to surge forward and get that point back.
Not only that, but they're also just building ultimates like crazy on top of that. I mean, look at the building that we saw from Caverna there. Obviously, a lot of healing that went out to some of the more resolute, I guess you could say, like the healthier tanks that come through from Quad Gaming, but Caverna taking advantage of that by building into Maka, building into Snail, and taking advantage of that fact. Here's Schwazu taking that same hold, but again, a different approach taken by Quad Gaming as they go the long way around.
Well, both Reinhardts know each other have shatters. You see, they're gonna try and play some mind games. Who can let their their shield down first, or you're looking for the stun if you get a little too close. Graviton is actually thrown from Maka, equal grab from Agus. And meanwhile, Snail Transcendence does keep Caverna topped up, and Xiaozu, with that Transcendence, is allowed to be even more aggressive as Caverna will extend their lead to 90% plus.
Oh, look at this aggression. Oh, the possible re-engage coming from Leon as he throws his mech forward. They won't find anything, but perhaps Godman can make his way around and get to the point in time. Not the case. Oh, oof.
Isn't that what you say? Get first blood.
But here we go. We're going to get into round number 2 of this first map, and obviously Caverna with an advantage. But this is just another one of those maps here where it's going to be very likely that we wind up seeing that same composition. You know, we see that Zen versus Zen. We see the Rhine versus Rhine. And that matchup is going to be something that takes place between these two teams quite often throughout this series. So if we continue to see that, I think we're going to continue to see, a really solid performance out of Caverna. It seems like they really know what they're doing, and they're setting up just a little bit better than Quad Gaming. Although this has been a lot closer than some of the other matches that we've seen. Maybe not as much as the last one that we saw, but still, I'm definitely expecting this one to be bloody.
Zen goes, starting bloody. Xiaozu goes forward, gets the initial pin, already pushes Quad Gaming back, and XQC on a budget's out of position, taking out Godman. Always the second one to die after XQC on a budget. So Quad Gaming, they lose that first fight. Caverna will step towards the point to get that cap.
A quick one, though. So Caverna don't have too much of an advantage to work with in terms of, building and being able to have some big plays up in their pocket by taking that early advantage. I mean, for the most part, everything's kind of equal across the board. So Quad Gaming can use that to their advantage, get aggressive here, and start trying to hammer away into them when they know Caverna doesn't have much.
Well, it's Quad Gaming going forward, trying to break the shield of Xiaozu, who gets low, and XQC on the budget dies again. You need your Reinhardt to stay alive. Leon's about to be out of mech. What is really getting out of sync here with Quad Gaming?
Well, I mean, just the case with goats, right? That's you have to make sure that Godman and Agus are there to protect you at all times, and that hasn't been the case. The missed timings, as you mentioned, it's just prevalent enough where Caverna is able to take advantage of that. In particular, it's Cappy taking advantage of that and opening things up for Schwazu and Snail to get in there.
And it's going to be Caverna trying this one again. They have a Graviton rally started. Xiaozu slams it down. Quad Gaming stay alive with the Transcendence. Self-destruct now from Silvera is in a big one. And it's pretty fat. Caverna will hold on to the point. Where can Quad Gaming come back on this? It's been fight after fight, and they've got nothing going.
I wish we could kind of just take that clip right there, right? Just take it and go back to the Predators Esports match that we had 2 games ago and just kind of show Predators Esports that's how it's done. You got to drop it right on top of the Graviton so you can find the value. Caverna doing it over and over again and looking so good in doing it.
Oh, a corner Graviton Oh, it is countered by the Transcendence from Snail, so not kills going through for Quad Gaming as they would have liked. Barrier to give them that early advantage. Also the save XQC on a budget. He gets stunned. Counter shatters going back and forth. Caverna, they barrier, but they still lose Xiao Zhu. Meanwhile, almost 90% here for Caverna, and Quad Gaming are not seeing any light at the end of the tunnel. They're not turning this in their favor. They've lost XQC on a budget. They've exhausted their ultimates. Quad Gaming are desperate here to take this map.
It doesn't look like it's going to happen here at all, though, either. There's Gravitons on both sides.
Well, that should be the end of it. XQC comes late to the party, and it's been the same trend of XQC on a budget being picked consistently first. This is the dangers of Zenyatta Goats versus Zenyatta Goats. If you don't peel for your Reinhardt, he goes down. Your entire team is exposed to the amount of damage, a high energy Zarya. There was no momentum at all built from Quad Gaming.
Yeah, and again, I think this is a very similar position to what we saw in the last game on Thursday, where maybe you start just avoiding that Zen matchup. Maybe you start avoiding that entirely because clearly Caverna has the upper hand in that department, right? Every time we see the setups come through, it's typically Caverna coming out ahead. They open up on Destro or XQC on a budget, and he just goes down every single time. Yes, his other, teammates are still in the right positions. I mean, they're going down when he is, so they're clearly there to support him. But the problem is that the cues and the mistimings are becoming an issue. And if you don't have that at your disposal, you have to start looking for other opportunities. Maybe go for a sustain style with Moira or something like that.
And look at, just speaking of momentum, Caverna, just Maka putting the team in the backpack, always having a high energy at all times, which means that his team have so much more damage to put out. Quad Gaming always having to reset, always losing these fights, never able to get away. And here's an even explosive, a great self-destruct from Leon that actually allowed them to get the point, but that was probably one of the very few fight wins we saw from them.
Yeah, and that was actually one of the biggest plays in terms of just making sure that everything went the way it was supposed to in terms of setting up. You can see that right there from Caverna, where they're doing the right things. They're setting things up, and everything is going essentially according to plan is what it really comes down to. The execution is there, the strategy is there, and it's all coming together nicely. So the problem, I think, with Quad Gaming is that the setups, I mean, the thought is clearly there, obviously. The thought is clearly there. They're throwing things in the right places, but they're not doing everything all at the same timing. And when you don't have the timings aligned, that's when you start having problems, especially with the Zenyatta style. It's a lot more faster pace. It's very quick. It's very reactive in a lot of cases. And if you can't hit those, you need to start looking at other ways to get around that problem. And again, I think one of the ways to do that is either get away from Zen Goats or get away from the Zenyatta as just an individual character.
And that might make sense for Quad Gaming. Remember Godman from last season, one of the God Pharaohs in South America. And you see these DPS players, even HM, you saw in our previous series. These are really amazing DPS players that are stuck on Brig, and you don't get to see their real potential. And have they really mastered the coordination of the stun shatter, of the stun self-destruct, whatever the combination might be? We saw at least Quad Gaming doing it once on the first Busan map, but Caverna have seemed to be in a more they're playing more as a unit in terms of the coordination of Brigitte and Reinhardt, or Brigitte plus Ultimate.
Yeah, and I think we when we move forward into this next map, things that we have to consider if we are looking from the eyes of Quad Gaming and that next map coming through, it's a hybrid map. It's going to be Hollywood. Their two choices pretty much just being Hollywood and Numbani. I mean, there really is no good choice, it feels like, for Quad Gaming here. I mean, when you think about Hollywood and the approach here that you want to take, I think the big look that you're going is trying to replicate some of the effectiveness that you had from August, who I believe it was last week, if I'm not mistaken, where they did put him on the Widowmaker. They did have a pretty good couple of plays when they did allow him to have some space on Hanamura first point. Maybe you start going into that a little bit more. Maybe you start thinking about ways to really punch that out and make sure that you are giving space to him, allowing Godman and XQC on a budget or Stro to start creating that space so that we can start seeing more of that individualistic play and get away from some of the team play mechanics that are plaguing them right now. Some of these problems that have come out with their timings and their miscues.
So Quad Gaming, I mean, clearly losing the Zenyatta Goats matchup. So Hollywood could be that so far, so good-ish. But looking at Hollywood to maybe that's where they spice it up. This is where they can have Godman or Agus bring out that Junkrat. Both of them able to play this hero, have brought it out in the past. What sort of strategies could they bring out? We've seen in our other series, Soldier, Junkrat. Maybe Godman can bring out that Pharah. This is a more friendly Pharah map, at least on the defense in comparison to Numbani. But Caverna, they are looking very strong, and it's been one-sided. But, you know, control anything can happen. And we're going to head into Hollywood, which is Quad Gaming's choice of map. So we hope they're prepared for it.
And I think with this one, we're definitely going to be seeing, you know, a continuation of some of the stuff that we saw on Busan. But again, if Quad Gaming want to take this, I think when they are able to capture point A, if they're able to capture point A, immediately switch gears as soon as they possibly can if they hit any kind of speed bumps from Caverna, because in that matchup, if it goes 1-1 and they start, you know, losing a fight here, losing a fight there, that's precious time taken away. You got to enable August so that he can actually bring out the Widow and start popping off like he did on Hanamura before. Give him that opportunity, and I think that will be really, really nice for Quad Gaming.
Well, on the attack, they're really hovering over the Zenyatta Goats, and Caverna waiting for them with the same thing. And what's always interesting is what attack could we see? Could we see a Winston Goats or a Rhine Goats? And always safer to have that shield because it does take quite a while to actually get to the point.
Absolutely, and not only that, but when you have this Zenyatta, you want to make sure that you're not going to just get barreled down upon when you have the Winston jumping in.
He's shaking his head all the way around, and XQZ gets extremely low, and he has to keep his shield up. And this is the go sign for Caverna. Knows the shield is low, and knows that main tank is low as well. And look at this, how they engage once they know those shields are broken down. XQC gets that pin. Well, not a pin, but he butts heads with the other Reinhardt, and that costed him there. So Quad Gaming have built a few ultimates, but it'll be a while until they get the point.
Already a minute taken off the clock. Luckily, though, it's going to become a battle of the Reinhardts trying to get in each other's way and each other's path, shut each other down because it's shatters on both sides. Schwazu, Stro, XQC on a budget. I mean, these guys are going to be battling it out to get into position. It's going to be down to these Lucios, actually, to make sure that they're in a position, and then the Zaryas to make sure that they are healthy enough to actually pull off an uncontested Earth Shatter once they get around that shield.
Oh, and this slams it down. The perfect stun with that. Caverna will slam it down right back into spawn. Quad Gaming, man, they got their own shatter this time. And like you said, relying on Ponchi on this Lucio to keep XQC on a budget sustained. We saw this trend on Busan of how XQC on a budget was always the first to get picked. And we said he needs more cover.
Absolutely does. And on top of that, he needs a little bit more, you know, like offensive pressure even as well. Godman needs to step up and get into position. So many options for Caverna here. We see the grab. He's just lying in wait.
Oh, coming from behind, and they did not see that coming. Maybe a barrier could actually save Quad Gaming here, but unfortunately, Godman's already down, and everyone gets dangerously low. They decide to use a Transcendence on top of that. Was that the right move? Caverna counter it with their own Transcendence, so Quad Gaming don't actually build any offensive momentum from the double support ultimate they just used.
Wow, we actually saw a pen come out from Stro, XQC on a budget, and he went forward, barely got taken out before finding one of his own. Caverna utilized essentially everything that they have there. Now it's just a sound barrier to sustain against what could be a very lethal combination between August and Leon. If they go forward with this, they could prove to be very effective in getting this first point unlocked right here and right now.
Pre-rally for Quad Gaming. The shatter completely misses from XQC on a...
Oh, he ate it!
And the Graviton was eaten from Agus, so this is Quad Gaming, I mean, starting to come together. Although the ultimates weren't humongous, they're working more as a team, and they get those cleanup kills, and they will get the point in the last minute of play.
So this is, again, that situation of you're low on ult charge here, right? You're going into that second phase of the map. Do you want to stick with this? Obviously, you're going forward and trying to get some ult charge. If you can get close to having a grav, then stick with it. Great. But if you do start hitting that roadblock, do you pull out the Widowmaker?
It might be risky against Zen Goats. And the way that this defense is playing, they would just stay on the car. Offense, just move the car. Widowmaker's not could be a choice if they were to try something different. But Quad Gaming, Transcendence, getting ready. Self-destruct, gotta avoid that stun. Doesn't find much, and Godman going down again early in these fights. Quad Gaming losing one, they get grabbed, but this won't have a ton of value. They can just reset.
A lot of time taken away here. They definitely won't swap at this point. Graviton at the ready now for Quad Gaming, and they're going to want to utilize this to their advantage to try to see if they can push back Caverna, take a fight, and get out of this danger zone of this choke where there really isn't a way to escape the pressure of a very aggressive defense, which is exactly what Caverna is doing right now.
And a shatter ready from Xiaozu, XQC having his own, but who can really coordinate that stun? It's not really about breaking shields here at this point. The shatter, I think, was blocked from Xiaozu and counter block from XQC on the budget. Now coming down to this grab baton from Agus, launches it out, self-destruct over the top. Barrier, can it save them? The answer is no. Leon gets a 2K, and Quad Gaming will finally be able to advance his payload.
Both supports taken out with that, and back and forth, both of these divas have been putting on a clinic. Silvera and Leon have been just popping off. Great positioning on these tosses. Granted, yeah, they don't have to throw it very far, but we've seen how a lot of teams that, here in South America, this region, they just haven't been able to just pinpoint exactly how to get it on top of that Graviton and then set up with their Brig. Going forward now, though, it's Caverna. They are wanting to take back what is theirs. Position, jockeying for control right now.
The pre-rally from Cavi Mag, but Quad Gaming are in the ultimate advantage. They start with the barrier, but now they need to get aggressive. Take those extra health pools and then shove Caverna right back into spawn. But Xiaozu has the shatter, but they actually get grabbed, so could counter shatter, but there is just a whole lot of people trapped, not going a lot of places. But Caverna are certainly going back to spawn, and Quad Gaming get closer and closer to point B.
Now Caverna have to play off the Transcendence Shatter. Obviously not a combination that you see all the time, but nonetheless, I think they can make it work, especially if Silvera finds a way to sneak his self-destruct in there that can really push away Quad Gaming and separate them on the point.
We'll see how this fight goes for Quad. They have the shatters. Both Reinhardts have a shatter, but Caverna are just pinned against the wall, and they do not want to use ultimates here. Fight lost. Quad Gaming win. They'll get point B.
Really clutch pen from XQC on a budget. I mean, by taking out Capimac, that's a 65 advantage. That's a rough way to try to win a fight at that stage without your Brig. Yes, you have to battle into a point. You're not in a great position coming through chokes like that. And already at a disadvantage, you just go to sustain there. Caverna, yes, they crumbled, but they are not down and out just yet. They do still have those ultimates ready to go. However, the problem now is that Quad Gaming have a lot of their own. They built them up in that last fight, and now they're ready to let them loose.
Self-destruct is the stun there. He tried to shatter through his shield. That's not going to happen. Still finds Godman into the back, which kind of strange. You should be able to block that with your own shield, but Quad Gaming haven't had much momentum, not much space here to make it work, and they want to wait for Godman. They know how important a Brigida is in these fights, and Caverna now want to take advantage and get some stagger kills.
So important that they took away the grab from Quad. Now Quad has to come into this fight trying to battle in without any real way to just claim a quick team kill, and especially when you need it right now. There's the shadow. Oh, is it blocked?
Yeah. How many shadows have been blocked this game? It's just time and time again. Both these right. Oh, that one surely didn't get blocked. It's everyone from Quad Gaming down, and they will have to clearly reset. Wow, look at the aggression from Xiaozu going that far forward. Still have to be careful with the high energy Zarya. Agus does find his way back to spawn. But look at the swap here. It's a Hanzo. Or maybe not. Not a Hanzo. It's a D.Va again.
Gotta get that mech back. I think he was the one that got away there at low health, so he just had to get his mech back. But nonetheless, I mean,
I want a Hanzo though.
Yeah, it would have been interesting because they need everything they can get to make sure that this next Grav is able to find the kills that they need to start pushing this, because this is effectively, or rather it could be the last fight. If they lose it right here, Grav at the ready for Caverna. They have the Transcendence as well.
Oh, Eden! It was Eden! And you use the Transcendence as a scare tactic, I guess, but Graviton thrown this time from Caverna. That one doesn't get eaten, and it is Shatter. This is just everyone putting each other to the ground. Not any objective distance has been earned for Quad Gaming. They are in overtime. Thankfully, the spawn is close. They can keep trying to sustain themselves. Most of Caverna is down, but man, are Caverna good at defense. They keep pushing Quad Gaming to the brink.
They're going to hold on to that self-destruct. That's an interesting choice to make, and I actually like that. I think that that's really good, displaying a lot of patience there from Silvera, because he can come back into this next fight, allow time for Maka to generate his grab, or they can use it to instigate a fight with, because you know that you can clear the point with it easily. You're going to at least find a kill because someone has to stay on the point at this stage in overtime. So really, really good job displaying patience for Silvera. They can definitely win this next fight now.
And double support ultimates, and you got a grab about to be online for Quad Gaming. They need to win it here, and you need to support Agus during this. Grab is thrown. Caverna are stuck. They use the barrier to survive, but Maka just has his grab. That could be spelling the end for Quad Gaming if they don't survive this. They got all dangerously low and shattered on top of it. Quad Gaming back to spawn. Cart ain't going nowhere.
Despite the fact that Silvera wasn't able to find the kills with that, instigating the fight in such a disruptive manner really pushed Quad Gaming all the way, basically everywhere at that payload, right? I mean, you saw people going into the back hallways, you saw people backing all the way up. By separating out Quad Gaming with that composition, Caverna was able to retake position, take away the ability to kind of stand on that payload and be able to hold out. Quad Gaming then had to overextend through Caverna to try to sustain through that. And that's when we saw Caverna able to just get that last little bit of ult charge. We saw them getting the grab down and just cleaning up at that point, because Schwazu was again able to sneak behind XQC on a budget there. But we have seen a lot of blocks of Earth Shatters, a lot of blocks on both sides, whether it be from Ryan's, whether it be from Zarya's. It's been insane, this battle between these two Reinhardts.
And Quad Gaming, man, that should have been the fight. That should have been their fight to win, to be honest. They had both support ultimates. They had grab first. All they needed to do was grab, kill everything, survive with support ultimates. But they used their support ultimates early. The grab didn't end up killing the majority of Caverna, and you mainly didn't kill Maka on that grab. So all they did was counter grab. They even had Xiaozu who's still alive with the shatter. So Quad Gaming, when they have the tools, they need to build the house after. And it's just been a very tiny shed and not much going on.
I'm still curious, though, why they're continuing to go for this Zen versus Zen matchup that they know that has been a little bit of a struggle for them. I mean, they've really suffered through this map. Yes, they have almost gone the distance, but every single time has been very, very close. I mean, had Caverna won one more fight, they wouldn't have gotten that first point. Had they won one more fight in the stage 2, they wouldn't have gotten that point. It's been very close, and they've been struggling with this. I'm surprised they haven't at least tried a different approach, especially here on defense.
We'll see how this offense will go for Caverna. First, they have to finish the map, and they will go 2-0 in our series. And we know the playoff implications here. Caverna, they go forward, and that was just the cleanest, quickest fight we've ever seen. Quad Gaming already gave up the point.
You see Ponchi going to be taken down there too. But yeah, this is probably the cleanest execution of how to approach a Zen Goats with your own Zen Goats for this point A of Hollywood. And now they can go forward and not only just claim victory at the point, but also take their victory lap as they just get a little bit more ult charge. They're going to get closer to that rally. Cappy's going to help them sustain, give the armor to the back line so that they have the ability to kind of clash a little bit more aggressively, especially Snail, who really wants to get up there and start putting some pressure onto the Rhine. I think Caverna is putting themselves in a very good position with the way that they executed that first fight.
Rally started for Cappy Mac, and this is Caverna's chance to go forward now with Xiaozu Shatter. If they get XQC on a budget down, that could be a free shatter, but the Transcendence saves XQC on a budget. Big play from Hero Fly. Caverna now have to back off, and now it's their time to engage with the barrier, with the shatter. Counter grab, traps the offensive team, and it's just ultimate after ultimate. No objective distance has really been earned yet. Caverna now have to actually go back to spawn and even use a Transcendence in a lost fight. So this is just not a great look for Caverna here.
Yeah, they're just not going to be able to do this. The sustain is there for XQC on a budget. Just a lot of support going into their Reinhardt right now so that they could keep him up. That was a big hole that was exploited throughout this matchup so far, is that, Caverna is getting the kill early on Destro, but that time not the case. They threw everything onto him so that they could keep him alive. Caverna now coming back with some force, looking for vengeance on this next fight, but self-destruct at the ready for Leon.
Oh, this could be big. We've seen big self-destructs from Leon before. If you just stun... Oh, it's eaten! How many times are these going to get eaten? We gotta watch for these Matrix. You gotta wait for the Diva to put it down. And now Shatter from XQC on a budget. That's pretty decent. You got a self-destruct that just obliterates the entire planet. Leon does this time and time again.
I gotta catch my breath after that one. That's the second one where it was basically a team kill. And Quad Gaming looking a lot better with this matchup. I guess I just choked on my own words is what happened there, because with this matchup of the Zen versus Zen, especially on this corner here, they're utilizing it so well. They're making sure that they're baiting Caverna Esports in and taking advantage of the fact that Zhuazu may not have the cooldown of the projected barrier at that time.
Need to see a fat shatter from Xiaozu, and he's looking for it, going so far forward, stunned back. But he gets dangerously. Why would you shatter there? No, he was like 50 HP. And now Quad Gaming, without a Reinhardt standing in their way, they'll go forward. They'll feast on their ultimates. Hey, even use a barrier. Why not? But Caverna will have to reset again.
This has literally been a brick wall defense. Nothing has gotten past the payload where it stands right now. I mean, we've seen Caverna try to back Quad Gaming up, but always they are ready to switch gears and go right back on the offensive and take it right to Caverna. But here it is, a big opening for Caverna. They have the cooldowns, they have the ultimates, they have to get the kills now.
Okay, bless up. This one didn't get eaten this time, but it did get countered by a Transcendence. And Maka's going to throw out his own Graviton, and there's a self-destruct right in the middle, and it gets two. You got the two biggest threats on Quad Gaming. Caverna can breathe a little sigh of relief, as you might think this has taken about 5 years to get to this point, but to be fair, they won the point in the first fight, so it might be kind of evened out in terms of times for both these teams.
Now Caverna need to be continuing with this momentum. They have the advantage of having beat here. They need to be aggressive into this next fight, making sure that they go for it. As soon as Quad comes out of that door, as soon as they have their sights set, they need to make sure that they're gauging how do we want to approach this, and then just go for it. Go have that sound barrier at the ready and just fly in.
Self-destruct, and there's nothing to protect those supports. Well, maybe a small wagon survives the self-destruct, but Caverna, they have still a shatter from Xiaozu, and Quad Gaming, though, they're putting so much pressure on him that he's just has to swing his hammer away, and Quad Gaming are just falling apart at the seams, and it's been 2 consecutive lost fights, and Caverna should be able to get point B from this.
This is going to be a long string of momentum-based fighting where Caverna is going to take the advantage every single time. Maka now ready to go with that combination from Silvera. They are going to hopefully hold on to their Transcendence here as well, and not even a fight out of Quad Gaming. They're just going to try to hold the choke instead.
Oh, Maka with that early grab, and interesting barrier to protect against it, but mainly point B has already been earned. There's a fight's taken place when it was maybe 10 seconds too late, but it was a really good job from Caverna to block the doorway that Quad Gaming is trying to come out of, and maybe didn't need to use the grab from Maka. You could have just pushed the payload, and Quad Gaming had to disengage from that, but we'll see how this next fight goes. A lot of ultimates online.
Yeah, nobody really in a position to take advantage of the grab. Nonetheless, though, Agus has one of his own. We'll have to see if he can drop it in behind. Silvera looking to DM that one and slid right past him.
Oh, actually slid past. And it's been a tale of just Transcendence is keeping everyone up, maybe except Xiaozu and maybe except Silvera. Self-destruct will just burst right through that. So Caverna back into spawn, but they have 5 of their ultimates, and Quad Gaming want to survive this next one with the Transcendence.
There's enough time here for Caverna, but also it's not a lot of time that Quad Gaming really need to be worried. So it's all about the approach to the next fight or two, rather. I mean, we're seeing Caverna with a lot of options. They could be very aggressive here coming around the corner, but they have to make sure that they're looking for the opening against XQC on a budget.
Shatter slams down the perfect stun to make it happen. The barrier does from Kalu just keep everyone topped up so Xiaozu could respond. Caverna or Quad have to be careful. Xiaozu slams it down. It's not the most valuable one, but HeroFly has to use the Transcendence anyway. Keep up that aggression for Quad Gaming. It seems that these fights are... Oh my god, Silvera! That's the way you tip the scales for Caverna. They'll finally be able to move this payload.
So tough to keep this going, though, to keep on with this onslaught. They have about a minute. Ponchi and Quad Gaming really need to go for the speed, the speed startup. Just go right in. They have the beat. Fly in. Try to make sure that Caverna can't get too much. If this fight goes on too long, if it drags on, Caverna will be able to build some ults and start going for, Transcendence plays and just trying to take out XQC on a budget.
Down to the last 50 seconds. This is a one-fight territory, and the Silvera gets DMEC from the Shatter, and he got Xiaozu who's down. Quad Gaming won this fight so quickly, but Caverna do have time to make it back and make this one last fight.
Exactly the way I wanted to see it. Win that fight quickly and deny ult charge from Caverna. You know they have one more fight. You know that they're going to try to be quick about it too, because they don't have a lot of time to make it to the payload. So they have to get into position quickly. Use that to your advantage. Build up Augus's Graviton Surge. Then make sure that you have Leon to back it up. Put that into a good position, and you could get a full team wipe for a win right now.
Oh, but Agus is about to come up on that grab, and exactly, you're right, that this is the game winner that Quad Gaming needs to even up the series. The Shatter finds the entire backline. Quad Gaming have to be so careful to use the Transcendence. They should keep their team alive. Eagle Transcendence and Barrier now for Caverna. They're trapped in the middle of a Graviton. Silvera loses mech. XQC on the budget is so low, has to be careful, but it doesn't matter. Quad Gaming playing as a team here, really coming together despite how Busan went. Caverna trying to get back on time. They still have about 4 people left to keep this fight going. Self-destruct from Silvera. It's building a little bit of space. Quad Gaming can't step off of that payload, and a big shatter there from Xiaozu and XQC on a budget. It's so back and forth between these two teams. Quad Gaming now stuck into the Graviton, but they have the closer spawn. Snail now uses the Transcendence, and this is literally a fight that never ends here.
Oh, that grab could very well end it. Everybody gets pulled into it, and that will be that. It looks like Xiaozu pushed off, and overtime ticks down, and Lemon. Quad Gaming have done it. That second to last fight, I think, was so pivotal. Having to win that so quickly to deny the ult charge from Caverna. Everything was kind of mistimed in terms of their ult economy there. That was perfectly done at the end by Quad Gaming.
I feel like we saw like 3 rounds of ultimates per hero in that fight, and I was losing capacity in my lungs. And as soon as I said this fight never ends, it ended. So maybe I jinxed it. But sick defense from Quad Gaming. It took forever for Caverna to get anything done. It was just never-ending fights of ultimates after ultimates, nobody dying. But this means that the supports from each team are carrying the team. They're having Transcendence at the perfect moments. They're having barriers that are protecting their team during the Gravitons. And hence why even you saw a Graviton, even if you saw a self-destruct, very rarely did it end up in a massive team wipe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Quad Gaming is definitely looking a lot better in this map. Their Zen approach is definitely looking a lot more concise, a lot more cohesive. I'm looking forward to the next 2 maps.
And it's been a Maka versus Agus, and Maka was really standing out on Busan and compared to Agus. But an XQC on a budget, you can tell he's changing his play style a little bit. He knows that Xiaozu plays aggressive, and he's either trying to match it, but also not trying to give up too many shatters. And we even seen some mistakes of, I think it was Xiaozu that tried to shatter with 50 HP and kind of opened up, or it might have been, yeah, I think it was Xiaozu that did that. And Maka with his sneaky Gravitons, but we've seen quite a few Gravitons actually been eaten on Hollywood. So it's been really great play from the divas of Leon and Silvera.
Yeah, I mean, even good stuff from the supports too, where we've seen these big pivots happen. I mean, Paunchy, HeroFly, every single one of these supports, Kalo, Snail, obviously, from both sides, respectively, have really done a good job of maintaining their tank, their frontline, Xiaozu, and XQC on a budget, as well as being able to instigate some of these re-engages that have helped their team swing fights.
Well, we're going to swing it right over to our halftime desk with Katrina and friends for their halftime thoughts.
Thank you so much, Lemon and Hurix. So that was an incredible end to Hollywood. Quad manages to hold off Caverna, bringing the series to a 1-1. Now, Lemon and Hurix were mentioning some of the interesting Graviton searches. And Possible, I know that you have been tearing out your hair, especially on Hollywood. I hope everything's okay. But first of all, here, let's let you just let it all out. What's been going on with the Gravitons here?
So I'm gonna be fair, and I'm gonna give credit where credit is due.
Uh-oh.
Goose, you cleaned it up. You cleaned it up. Second round, you were 4 for 4 for grabs. First round, you were 0 for 4 for landing grabs. All of them got eaten, but you cleaned it up. I really think right now Quad Gaming is living and dying by 2 things. There's Zarya is what I'm gonna focus on, but like Lemon and Hurix were talking about, the support ults are also very important when it comes to countering Maka's grabs, because he's not getting as many eaten. But it really is depending on whether or not Aegis can find those grabs, find the value. The Graviton has always been, in the history of Overwatch, one of the most game-changing ultimates, right? It locks the entire enemy team down if you do it right. And in the GOATS meta, it allows for so much more than just a team fight kill. It's ult charge, it's CC, it's so many things, and you can't afford to get them eaten. You can't afford to just be out in the middle of the open area, lose track of the enemy D.Va, and just try and yeet it, because it's just gonna get eaten, right? And Aegis figured that out. And once he did, Quad looked significantly better. So if they can keep those grabs from being eaten, I think they got a good shot in the second half.
And the thing is, like, munched grabs has been a theme today. It's something that we've know every single game, and it's like, have Zaryas completely forgotten how to use walls and how to read divas, or have divas just really stepped up? Have they been playing a whole lot of Zarya and they're like, I see what you're doing, Zarya, you're gonna grab? Nope. Like, I don't know, it really is a common occurrence today.
Yeah, really quick though, just so we stay a little bit humble, raise your hand if you've had a Graviton eaten.
I don't play Zarya, so
Same. Wrecked. Good
get
try
wrecked.
All right, so also raise your hand if you've ever gotten a quintuple kill on D.Va. I see you, Leon. I see you. There was two of them.
Those were sick.
Absolutely incredible. Nari, can you tell me a little bit about the impact these tanks have been having during this game, other than maybe more of the negative side that Paulsable was focusing on?
So D.Va impact, obviously, grabs, that's huge.
Yeah.
Some of these Earth Shatters, I've been really impressed, not only with how many Earth Shatters have been getting so much value, but with how many Earth Shatters have been denied. If by a enemy Reinhardt shield, or by a Zarya bubble, or by a Brigitte stun, or just by outright killing the Reinhardt before his hammer hits the ground. The denial has been so strong. And that again comes down to tank counterplay. It's not necessarily that your tank is not doing well, he's just being outplayed. And again, these Zarya bubbles have been so strong with protecting from, we saw a lot of Grav self-destructs. And of course, Zarya bubble can help to protect from that. If somebody's out of position, Reinhardt's got a shield up, he's not behind the bubble, or rather behind the shield, you bubble him, keep him alive, and you take what could potentially be a 2 or 3 man self-destruct, and it's only like maybe one person. And yes, you're still man down, but you get a lot of charge off of that, and there's still a chance for you to potentially win the fight out. And again, divas with their self-destructs, wow. Getting shatters onto Reinhardt so that he doesn't have a shield up. Ryan charging the enemy Ryan so that he can't have his shield up. These small micro plays, man. I know that a lot of people moan about GOATs, but it's so nuanced. If Reinhardt misses his charge, if D.Va doesn't matrix at the right time, if any of these small things don't happen, an entire composition falls apart. And when they all come together, you get a D.Va 4K. It's beautiful.
So even though Quad did win on Hollywood, Possible, how do you feel like these two teams stack up against each other mechanically, and how do you think that'll fall through in the next 2 or even 3 maps?
You know, it's interesting because if you had asked me that question before the second half of Hollywood, I would have said Caverna is really coming up much stronger when it comes to just vanilla, what we call vanilla Overwatch, right? Which is essentially no ultimate Overwatch. And GOATS is a very ultimate dependent comp, but it's also one of the strongest compositions that we've ever had in the meta without ultimates, right? It's very sustain heavy. It has more than enough damage to get the job done. And when it comes down to what we call those neutral fights without ultimates, most of the time it was Caverna coming up clutch. The problem is, outside of Control, there's only 1 or 2 neutral fights per map, right? And that's best case scenario. And Quad Gaming, once Agus stopped getting those grabs eaten, were doing better with that ult economy. They were finding more value. Leon has potentially the best placement of his self-destructs of not just divas in this region. I'm gonna go even the extra mile, right? I'm gonna say that it's among the best diva self-destruct placement I have seen at the semi-pro level, at the tier 2 level, right? Like, one of the things divas love to do is that bomb along the ground, right? And you watch Europe or NA or Korea, the supposedly best regions, and they'll do that, and it'll still end up like slightly behind or slightly ahead, and then there's a Reinhardt shield or a Zarya bubble denying value like Naori was talking about. But the bombs are ending up perfectly in the middle of everybody. And you can't deny the value of that for more than a kill or two. It's always going to end up being those 3K, 4K bombs. And Leon is doing such an incredible job. And it's not just him. Silvera is actually doing well too. So the D.Va matchup in this match is intense.
So not only is there an important difference in the terms of the matching up, the different styles of each of these players and heroes, but also the map type. The map type that we have been going to has determined the success of Quad, especially. Naori, why do some teams succeed a lot more on the payload central maps as opposed to, say, Control?
Well, I would say, and this definitely comes down to the team itself, right? So you get your objective-based teams that do really well capturing a point. They are aggressive enough, they can roll in, they can clean up, and they can capture that point. Fairly standard, fairly, straightforward. Payload maps, on the other hand, require a lot more scrappiness, and it's purely because in a capture type map, if you step off of the capture point, you will either you can either get it stolen from you, or you can lose part of your ticks. So if you don't get the full 1 tick, you're going to get reverted to 0. If you don't get the full 2 ticks, you're going to get reverted to 1. And that's if you're attacking. If you're defending, if you step off, you can have it stolen away from you. Whereas with a payload, you step off the payload and it like rolls back a couple centimeters, you come back, you fight. And there's so much more open space. You can, if you're a defending team, you can pull the fight off of payload and make sure that nobody can touch the payload. Or if you're an attacking team, you can still pull the fight off of payload because it's only going to pull back a little bit. Then everybody runs back and sits on the payload. Easy peasy. So it's two very different styles of map. And I think that some teams are just a lot better at taking and securing an objective, which is very much move in as a group, get onto the objective, hold it, as opposed to a payload map, which is get onto the payload or don't, kill everybody, then get onto the payload. It's way scrappier. So if you're an objective-based team, you will do better on those objective-type maps. And if you're a far more scrappy team, you're going to do better on a payload map.
So we will be able to see if that logic continues to hold through, as we will be headed off to our next assault map, which will either be Horizon Lunar Colony and Hanamura. But first, we're going to take a quick break.
Welcome back, everybody, to the last game of the day. But we're in map 3 between Quad Gaming and Caverna, where it's 1-1 going into, I believe we're in Hanamura, and we had a bit of a disconnect. So it took us a while, but we're here.
Yeah, and we're going to get into this matchup. It's tied up right now, 1-1. Caverna versus Quad Gaming right now. It's been a brawl between these two teams. I mean, they have gone at each other's throats, typically with this Zen Goat style, coming at each other constantly over and over and over and over. It's been, and now I think this is a matchup, or a map rather, that we'll see something a little bit different. We'll see some different styles of compositions come out perhaps, and I think Hanamura is a great map for us to see what these two teams have to offer. We've seen some different looks from Quad Gaming on this map already. Caverna, I think, is going to have a different approach for us here as well, once they probably swap Calo. Yep, there it is.
But the Zen Goats returns for at least the defense, and is this going to be the Moira Goats? This will be a different flavor. Oh, Lucio, Ana, Moira, Lucio? All right, Lucio it is, with Zenyatta.
I'm going to look at this right now, and I'm seeing the way that they're taking this kind of slowly. They want to get around this corner. They need to get everybody around this corner to open up the angle for the Zenyatta in the back.
Well, Caverna, they found the entryway, and they get people pretty low towards the back line of Quad Gaming. XQC on a budget gets low, and he gets stunned, and someone needs to help the poor man, and finds a very lucky pin onto Maka. And Caverna, meanwhile, have started to accumulate some kills.
They're battling it out right now on the point. It's rallies on both sides simultaneously, as we see XQC on a budget. He's just holding on here. Has his Earthshatter looking for it. Does find one in the back.
Well, Xiaozu finishing everything off, and this was quite the clean kill for Caverna. And they only had to use a rally, it seems, to get the job done. And with, oh, you know what, Graviton about to be online, 2 support ultimates, this could be a snowball situation.
Yeah, they're going to try to take this momentum forward, where Maka now with this grab, Silvera. We've seen this combo before. We've seen it before where they drop both of those, and Silvera can clean things up. And Leon's done it as well. I mean, this has really been a bloody battle between these two teams. We'll have to see if they can get the setup done properly and collect everybody together before this self-destruct comes out.
Barrier drop from Caverna. They go towards the point. They throw out the Graviton. Quad Gaming could survive for the moment. Now have to use both the Transcendence and the Barrier. Caverna still in a good spot, but they need to keep Xiaozu alive. Godman dangerously low in the middle of a bunch of people down. Caverna have used pretty much every ultimate here and are just starting to turn the scales in their favor. Quad Gaming had used the Graviton, but not enough people alive to put enough damage into that. Quad Gaming will be coming back with a Shatter, but I don't think this will be the ultimate they're looking for to really turn this around.
Maka hanging on, almost has another grab. He can look for an opportunity to drop this. Has it on the wall. No one's there, though.
Well, that should be the end. Caverna, man, they made this a one fight for point A, a one fight for point B. And that's exactly the snowball we were talking about of the amount of ultimates they had. And Quad Gaming, well, it was a valiant effort, but quite a severe time bank that Caverna just got.
Yeah, that's a big one right there. And now Quad Gaming on their attack have to get pretty close to that. I mean, the way that last one went, certainly after that first point, the way that ended, Caverna coming forward, you mentioned it, and it describes it, it illustrates it perfectly that, you know, this team, Caverna, with those tools, with those utility that they have to come forward into point B with, it's very, very difficult to hang on when you're keeping that same composition. You're trying to hold out on high ground even just a little bit, but then you pull everybody back. Then you're not really together. You basically allow Caverna to come in. They already have momentum. They already have the ult advantage as well, and you're just giving up that space. The only thing that you had left. So Quad Gaming kind of creating an unwinnable situation for themselves without making some swaps and really having some clutch play that they just didn't get enough of in the end.
Well, 5 minutes and 27. I mean, Hanamura is always those maps that you can have like an 8-point end game and you're here for half of your lifetime. And Quad Gaming very easily as good at the Zen Goats as Caverna, as we definitely saw from Hollywood. So the question is, are they going to leave the spawn here with the Sombra? This is probably just to scout what the defense is running and then adjusting accordingly.
Caverna on their defense, this is very much a trend on this map on point A, right? I mean, we see Doomfist and Sombra, the Hack Fist, if you want to call it that, utilized often, especially against teams that like to play versions of Goats, in particular the Zenyatta style that we've been seeing a lot of from Quad Gaming. August is going to be making a swap back. They might actually switch up a lot more than that, and they do indeed. I like this a lot. Now they have an alternative approach to deal with Caverna bringing out the Hack Fist, and they can get into the backline. They can put the pressure down. There's nothing to really do much to Godman if he utilizes the geometry of the map.
And Godman, yeah, the perfect counter to a Doomfist is a fairy. It takes quite a hop from that Doomfist to get all the way up there. And Agus could be starting a flank, you know, get the attention from the front line away from the main choke so your team could go through. And Quad Gaming still looking for that opportunity and mainly just trying to rain damage on that choke point.
Maka taking advantage of the fact that they're reeling and trying to get a little bit closer to that EMP. They really need to build leads like this if they want to be able to sustain through the composition that Quad Gaming is bringing to the table. It's aggressive, and it's very, very good against what they have. As long as they can buy time, and Agus gets spotted out, so he's forced back. They could actually take a kill here if they spot out his recall position, and they do.
Oh, yeah, he's going to be out of blinks quite shortly, and his team needs to follow up on this opportunity that he's created, and that's a way to do it. Silvera, Cappy Mac is down. Quad Gaming, they step onto the point, just needing to sustain. Oh, they do lose Agus a little early. Not maybe a big deal. Caverna, though, have lost this one, and at least have made it a slower defense than the last round.
Still, though, I mean, even in spite of the fact that they will be able to claim this point, they will have some ultimates, they've given up, I think, a little bit too much ground to Caverna in the approach. And the unfortunate fact now is that they have to deal with an EMP and they have to deal with the trans. They don't have that instant kill option without the setup. I mean, Leon can throw a self-destruct in there. He can get kills with the trans up, but he cannot do it unless Caverna are out of position. And a lot of these players are not going to be at least in my opinion, they're not going to be in those positions. They're not going to be able to be caught out like that. However, maybe the pulse bomb can give them an advantage.
Oh, meanwhile, XQC on a budget got bursted down before he could use it. Oh my god, Agus not having fun with that one. Barrage canceled from Godman, so Quad Gaming had a smart approach of maybe trying to get an early pulse bomb, but when you have XQC on a budget kind of dying like that, it really just stifles your push entirely.
Caverna are also smart to just only use the EMP. Don't overuse ultimates. Don't try to go through too much. And now we see August. He's gonna go ahead and bring out the McCree. They're gonna go for the protect the McCree style. That's a good answer to what Caverna are bringing out. But this is still a dangerous position on this particular map to even utilize this comp, which on paper it really is an answer. So still have to be careful about these corners.
And Silvera being careful, just diving in the middle of 6 people, just now getting the meteor strike for reposition. Quad Gaming had used the barrier, now they use the primal. This is how they're using quite a bit of ultimate, so you hopefully have to convert this into some objective time, and they haven't gotten really any position onto the point yet. XQC on a budget is down yet again, and I don't think there's much momentum being built. Half the team on the point, half the team into the back, and it doesn't seem very planned out right now.
Oh, they're trying to re-engage it. Ponchi gets thrown off of the point, and as long as Caverna can sustain here, as long as they can take 1-to-1s, they will do that forever because it's just time off the clock that they don't have to worry about. And Quad Gaming, despite those last couple kills, I don't think they want to stay in here.
This seemed disorganized from the beginning, you know, losing your main tank, maybe trying to build some time, and at least they got a take out of it. So, but down to 4 minutes, you're now at a time bank disadvantage, and Quad Gaming exhausting their ultimates, now want to set up a goose on this high ground with a dead eye.
However, in the process, they'll also put themselves in a really, really good position for Maka. I mean, coming through with the EMP, that's a big opening with them all going onto high ground all together like that. Can really catch them off guard as Silvera finds his way through the staircase here, and we'll be able to answer them.
Oh, EMP dropped into the back from Maka. Kalo has to use the nano onto Xiaozu. This is how Caverna trying to respond, but already 2 picks for Quad Gaming, who lose Panchi early. Still trying to get control of that high ground. Agus goes forward. Lots of kills for Quad Gaming. This could be the opportunity to turn this fight in their favor, get their second tick, and Agus stays on that high ground, ready with the Deadeye. As soon as Caverna come out these doors, it's going to be raining bullets. Oh, slept!
He has it. Oh, he did get slept up top. Now they have to go in to protect him, but there's Silvera to land on top.
That's just mean. You meteor strike a sleeping McCree. Oh no, and Quad Gaming still have a few picks. It's really not over yet. They only lost a goose, and Hero Fly is down now. Panchi, does he use the barrier here? Tries to survive. I think some ultimates, a lot of damage going on onto the field, and Caverna are slowly tipping the scales, getting back into this one. Self-destruct earlier from Cappy. Mac clears the field, and Quad Gaming, at least they got the second tick here, but eventually they should reset.
Look at the way that they actually went for this as well. The way that we saw Snail actually going onto the Widow off of the Zen. They went all out looking for those picks, looking for the advantage to create momentum off of, so that they didn't have people constantly going back from respawn and not finding those picks. So clutch from Snail to help them out and find those headshots, get some of the kills on board so that Caverna could swing that back in their favor. But now, dangerous position to be in if you're Quad Gaming. 2 minutes as they're holding on to this McCree strat, coming up to the high ground, probably going to take that same approach that they always take.
Nano on Xiaozu, feeling super powerful, going towards the backline of Quad Gaming, who already lose Panchi. And you can see they don't even want to risk it seems, waiting for Panchi to get back, which is actually going to be pretty quick. But they're being more smart because they know they've wasted a tremendous amount of time, down to the last minute and 45.
Now we see them holding onto the Transcendence. Not a lot of lethality going into this next fight. Meanwhile, in the backline, Hero Fly has been found, spotted, Maka forced out, but Silvera's looking for the punch.
Gets the punch, finishes off Agus, and you got a Primal Rage from XQC, man! Silvera is usually the Diva Queen or Diva King, and now he's having tons of fun on this Doomfist, and Quad Gaming simply just haven't found a way to counter this.
Yeah, it's really difficult to land the flashbang and land the shield bash when you are the ones dying, right? I mean, Silvera's flying in there with the fist around a corner. It's hard to expect the exact timing of that. And then he's finding Godman or Agus every single time that he comes through. He manages to find one of them, and then it's always just clean up after that. Once they get that advantage, it's just Caverna coming back in and finding the rest of them.
Gonna keep trying this top right side, and Silvera, here he comes, and he's got the nano. Who's gonna be his unlucky target? And it's Hero Fly this time, and a great sleep to stifle this offense again. Quad Gaming, no success on this top right side, and it makes me wonder, when are they going to try mid? When are they going to try left? And how are they going to find the opportunity to get point B? Because we're in the last fight situation.
Yeah, I think they want to hold on to these ultimates. I think they think that's their best bet. Oh, they actually do swap it up. They bring out the Zarya instead. I don't know about that. I mean, I think you need the McCree, but you need a different way in. You need a different way to get in there. And now the EMP is ready for Caverna. This is so dangerous here.
Oh, EMP, that's dangerous. And you got the self-destruct from both sides, but Caverna's was even bigger. Meanwhile, nobody's on the point in the last remaining seconds. So Caverna will turn things around and be up 2-1 in our series.
And that's why we see that this is one of the only teams that allows their off-tank player to play the DPS role. This is the exact reason why, because Silvera is just that good on Doomfist. He's just that effective. Again, we saw the approach taken where they try to play the Protect the McCree strat. Here's the problem. It's not as cut and dry as rock, paper, scissors. At least it's not as it was maybe when that first started coming about. Now it's very map dependent, and on this map in particular, especially with the approach that they were taking, it was very, very difficult for them to get into position where they could actually set the stuns up and call out the positioning of either the Sombra or the Doomfist. And if they bait those cooldowns out or they catch them off guard, it's very difficult to battle back in when you are dealing with a Sombra and a Doomfist.
And you're seeing a big contrast of tanks now. Busan, it was very heavily one-sided towards Xiaozu. Then it got kind of more evened up on Hollywood. But again, XQC on a budget should have maybe gone onto the Reinhardt a lot sooner. You're going against a Doomfist. He's going to mess you up. You want to be a little bit more lethal close range. You need to provide more shields for your team. And maybe that Reinhardt pick, if it would have came out a bit sooner, with the Zarya, they would have had those finisher ultimates that they needed to get point B.
And they had a couple of different options. I mean, we saw them going for a couple of different styles. I mean, compositionally and strategically, we even see on the replays how, they did have that tracer setup where they did try to go in. It's just they got shut down, once or twice, and they just decided to swap off of it. We saw the shutdown happen from the Ana with the sleep dart, taking August out of it. We even saw him coming back into it. I mean, a lot of different swaps happening, but primarily from August and not really from anybody else. And the approach was, realistically, the same approach almost every single time. We saw them going up to the high ground. They were pushing towards stairs, and they almost never really made it there. I mean, what you really need to go for at that stage is find a way to get in there and start putting some pressure onto the Doomfist. You can do that with the composition. It's very difficult with that stage in the map because of, all the high ground that the Doomfist can take advantage of with the LOS as well to get away from the McCree, and also to approach the McCree with LOS coming around a corner where you can just barely bend around those corners. But if you can manage to do that, even if it's just sending one player in a different direction so that not everybody is looking at the rest of your team, I think that's maybe a way to go for it. But now it's 2-1 in favor of Caverna. They're looking rock solid, and we're moving into map 4 now.
Map 4 coming up shortly, and yeah, big fan of Silvera and how much he had fun on that Doomfist. It was like his perfect playground of small hallways, lots of bodies to punch, and they're really, I don't even think it's like the composition. Yeah, I said they could play a Reinhardt. The McCree was the right move, as you said, but keep going towards the top right. If you had nowhere to dive, they never actually rotated properly towards the point. I don't even think I ever saw XQC on a budget even make it to the point, because he would the fight would take place before the point and he would get killed almost immediately. So there was never really a dive to begin with. So really that Reinhardt needs to come out. I think he had a lot more success going up against Xiaozu on the Reinhardt, especially on Hollywood, and the Winston hasn't been able to have success making the space for his team. Hence why this McCree comp really fell apart.
Yeah, and they're certainly their best look. Like you mentioned, it was on Hollywood. It was with the tank, really kind of gauging everything, really setting the tone for everything. We saw Ryan versus Ryan work out to their advantage when they could play corners. And when they did that effectively, they looked good. On these more open maps like Busan, like Hanamura, they struggle. They don't really know how to deal with those kind of things, especially when Caverna throws curveballs of putting in a Doomfist and a Sombra. Granted, it shouldn't feel like a curveball at all because it's what they've done all season long. They have always put Silvera on the Doomfist on point A of Hanamura, and they've kept him on it as long as they feel confident in the effectiveness of it, and that certainly, I mean, it's proved to be quite efficient. But despite all that, we're moving on to Route 66. That's another map where they can start playing that Zen Goats comp again. They can play some corners. There are different sort of options for them in terms of, maybe they bring out a May, maybe they bring that composition
I'm
out.
having PTSD. Don't say May.
They could certainly do that. However, it's now up to Caverna. If that does come out from Quad Gaming, right? If it does come out, all they have to do is figure out how do we want to approach that. If it does wind up being a situation where they're just pulling time away with a May style, igloo style, whatever you want to call it, try to figure out a way into, or rather behind it or through it, to de-nest them as soon as possible and get them on the back foot so that you can take advantage of that. You can win some easy fights if you can figure out a way to knock that down.
Oh, is that a picture of Doomfist? I don't know if we're showing that, but we are currently in a pause as we are waiting for the game to start. But this is Quad Gaming's choice of map. So this is maybe to enable the DPS of Leon and Godman, or who even Agus has been known for a DPS. So we've seen everything from Quad DPS on this map come out, from even Korean contenders and South American contenders. We've seen HM just obliterate the other team with this May strat of burning forever, burning time on the clock. You could see anything on Route 66, and I think this is where they might want to try something different other than the Zen Goats.
So the question becomes, is Quad Gaming gonna go for that quad DPS or triple DPS? We've seen probably a little bit more triple DPS than quad DPS so far, but it's been both. It certainly has been both. Do they want to go for that, or do they want to play the May style? Do they want to go for a more, I guess, vanilla approach of having the regular Zenyatta goat style? They play the corner the same way that they did on Hollywood. They could go for that approach as well. There's, I think, 3 distinct looks that they'll have, and it'll be one of those 3 that I just mentioned. However, if they go for the May, I think what could be an interesting play from Caverna on their attack is that they could do one of 2 things: bring a Bastion and just tear the wall down, and then take down the shield when we see the shield come out for the ice block as well. Because there is that kind of just tiny moment where you can blast the shield down and you might be able to find some kills before the ice wall comes off cooldown. There is that tiny little moment, or you could break the ice wall down if you have enough damage. But
or
the other approach is, bring another May. Just bring another one.
Oh, that too.
You can go on the offense. The wall comes down. The May has to go forward to ice block and contest the point. Wall it off. Wall the May off so that he can't get back. All of a sudden, now you're the team playing the igloo. The other team's caught out of the fight, and you have a 65 advantage. May's coming back, not a fast character. You can really string those that next fight in your advantage, and you can get the first objective for literally free. So, I mean, there are some approaches that you can take to really just take advantage of those kind of compositions, those strategies that come out that are admittedly gimmicky.
Or as my producer says, the meta. The meta, maybe. But, I mean, we've kind of speculated everything that could happen. But to be fair, the last time we were on the payload map, Hollywood, Quad Gaming won. And it was sort of Caverna's issue that while pushing an objective like a payload, they just took too long of fights. It took them too long to finish everything off. And I think that was what Caverna's issue was on Hollywood. And this could come in return on this upcoming escort map.
Yeah, that was also a lot of back and forth between the Zaryas and the Divas too. I mean, we saw a lot of blocking of Gravitons. Defense Matrix is just gobbling everything up. We saw a lot of Reinhardts just blocking out Shatters. I mean, those tanks were on fire to make sure that they could really keep their team safe and peeling for one another as well. It was just, at the end of the day, that corner hold where we saw coming through the gates from point A into that section of point B where we do see the bank and the saloon. And, that section of the map, it was so tough for them to get around that corner. And I highlighted it before. Route 66 is a very similar map. You can play those corners. You can utilize those choke points. There's not a lot of approaches. However, this one's slightly different and in favor of Caverna to a degree because there's a high ground available on point A, a high ground available on point B. There is at least something slightly different about the dichotomy of the map that changes the way that you can approach that fight. And I don't think that Quad Gaming is going to be able to hold out in the same way that we saw them do on Hollywood because of that.
And in what perspective could we, how are these teams going to use the dichotomy of the map that you're talking about? Are we still going to see the Zen Goats? Because it's the same thing on Hollywood. We're like, oh yeah, are we going to see Widows? We're going to see some Dai. We're going to see some Genji. And it was like, no, it was Zen Goats the whole time with Reinhardt. Yeah. So there was no high ground play, despite Hollywood having one of the highest high points of maps. So there is a lot of high ground to work with on Route 66. But are the teams even going to focus on that? It could be just a payload brawl the entire time.
It definitely could. And that's one of the things about these two teams, especially in this matchup today. We have seen a couple of different looks from them in the past, but today it's kind of a different, it's different in a sense because of the fact that they're playing a lot more 3-3 against each other in this head-to-head matchup. They're clashing more with the Reinhardts than they did typically in the past. We've seen a lot of different looks where Maka actually plays the DPS, where we see him go for that role. We've seen the same thing for Quad as well, where Agus on, I believe it was Hanamura. Yeah, we've even highlighted it. Hanamura, he was playing some Widow, but we haven't seen the efficacy come through for that player when he does swap, at least not really that much yet. I mean, we saw it last map on Hanamura where we saw the McCree, we saw this the Tracer, but it hasn't proven to be as effective as to what we've seen already in previous weeks. So it's certainly possible, and it's even probable that we see 90% Zen Goats, but it could be very different because of the high ground approaches that you can have on this map.
But I think Quad Gaming, the risk of playing something other than 3-3 is pretty big. And we saw Godman and Agus bring out Tracer and the Pharah, and it was a slower attack than if you were to run the 3-3. So I think they tried the risk and then immediately swapped back to what they were comfortable with. Because if you're going to play something other than 3-3, your DPS need to be just that much better than the Zen Goats of the other team. And do they want to risk or wasting time building ultimates for DPS players like a Tracer and a Pharah that aren't finisher ultimates like a Graviton or maybe a Rally? So it's a big risk going something other than the 3-3, and Quad Gaming have seen, some success at point A Hanamura with it, but I think, you're going into map 4, series 2-1, you don't want to mess around anymore. It's getting pretty close. This has a lot of implications for playoffs. I think you go with what's safest, which is 3-3.
Yeah, I agree, and especially because the other approaches can be exploited. The 3-3 is a very strong and consistent thing that you can pull out that really can't be exploited on this map as well as you can exploit the Mei composition, the Igloo composition, whatever you want to call it, that strategy, because of the fact that it is slightly gimmicky, right? I mean, you can take advantage of that and you can create a gimmick of your own to string fights together and get free wins. Same thing applies to any of the other approaches that you can have. If you do go for a more long-range approach, then you could have easily the oppositions like Caverna, namely, go for a more 3-3, but with dive instead and utilize the Winston, cause him to just be a monster, or even just bring out a Sombra. I mean, there's a lot of different looks that they could have. The 3-3 Zen Goats is the least exploitable defensively, so that you can make sure that you have an answer for virtually everything that comes your way.
Well, we're still in a technical pause at the moment. For those new to the stream, Caverna is up 2-1 over Quad Gaming. We're going to send it to a quick break, but when we get back, map 4 will be underway. Welcome back, everybody, to Contenders South America Week 4, Caverna versus Quad Gaming. 2-1 for Caverna. We're heading into Route 66 as we had a technical pause earlier, but we're ready for some action. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I feel like we've probably talked this to death at this stage, but nonetheless, we have all of the cards on the table, right? Everything is out there. We know what the options are. We know the different ways that we could see both of these teams approach this. Caverna, it looks like they're deciding whether or not they want to go for that Mei style that we saw, where they just play off that tunnel and just literally just hold the payload there forever, or if they want to instead go for just a standard GOATS approach that is certainly a lot harder to exploit. And Quad Gaming, now is the time to see what they want to bring out here on this map. Remember, they did pick this one, so they feel confident here. Ooh, please play this. Please actually play the Pharaoh Widow. I would love to see this here.
Oh my god, the Quad DPS. It's back.
On
This is
attack,
actually
nonetheless.
usually played on, I was going to say, it's usually played on the defense, so you might have watched the wrong VOD. But this comp coming out, exactly the double sniper, the Pharah, the Orisa to keep you sustained, and the Mercy to bounce between the snipers and also add the damage and the lethality to those snipers.
Yeah, no Zen either. So Godman's going to be pretty safe here, and they can just pack on the damage as soon as Caverna comes through. Wow, that was quick, so quick.
What? That 30-second barrage, you kidding me? Godman, looking good, looking good.
Not only that, but he was doing it against a team that was just clustered up in the cave, and they were shielded off. So they're going to continue this assault. A great showing from Caverna. If they can actually make this coalescence, if they can find the kill onto Godman as well, they can stay in this fight.
I thought he almost just yeeted that coalescence right off the map, and that would have been amazing. But meanwhile, they've gotten, ultimates. It's looking great, but the payload actually hasn't moved quite a ton. So this strategy is not working out. It's now Godman going off the far to the Brigida, Paunchy, hovering over the Lucio or the Mercy, sticking onto the Mercy now.
Yeah, he's going to stick onto that, which I thought might have been a signal for Godman swapping back to DPS, but looks like that's not going to be the case. They're just going to keep the Brigitte to provide some support, and now it's Leon finding that kill.
If I say, maybe I'll hit a lot. This guy's going to hit some shots too. It's Widow versus Widow. Kills going back and forth. Quad Gaming, they only lost Leon, but they have to get these sneaky tanks from Caverna off the payload if they actually want to move it. And this is where someone like HeroFly can actually set up on this high ground and be really lethal with this tag visor that might come up soon.
Well, they got to get some healing onto Schwazu here because Silvera is basically carrying all the weight, but it's enough time for Maka to find some kills. He is cleaning things up.
Oh no, so Quad Gaming having to reset, but and they're actually changing their support lineup again. Still haven't figured out if it's gonna be the Lucio, the Mercy. He might debate me again, but mainly we want to look at Leon having this Dragon Strike, which used it from spawn to probably swap. So I feel like they could have done something with the ultimates that they had.
Well, they try to go for this Zen approach, and this is Caverna. I mean, this is a good swap though from Quad, because even without ultimates, they should be able to do something with this as long as they remain protected on their backline. So coming out of this this cave here, they have to make sure that Maka just can't rain death with headshots coming through from the side. They have to have one side unprotected. Certainly don't want it to be the side with the Widow.
Oh. Well, we'll find out if he hit that grapple in this next episode. Because that was actually great positioning from Maka, because this forced XQC on a budget to turn his shield around. So we are in a technical pause. There's someone from Caverna that has disconnected.
Yeah, that's the diva there that just went out. So that's going to be Leon. No, not Leon. He's on the other side. Sorry. But we are going to go ahead and go to a break real quick because we're not quite sure how long it's going to take him to come back. So stay tuned, guys, for the next.
Well, welcome back. We're right in the middle of the action. Quad Gaming, Caverna, they're back. Barrier just used from Callow, and Caverna still holding this defense. Quad Gaming getting into position, but meanwhile, Maka's in the pack, and he's finding the foreheads of supports.
Yeah, they left that wide open for Maka in the back line. They find that kill, but still everybody else is so low, and they are not in a position where they can become aggressive here. Primal Rage at the ready for Schwazu as well, where he can just knock them about and buy more time for Maka to come through. In for sight now up.
In for sight, and I wonder what sneaky position Maka has been up to. Well, coming back from spawn. Observer reading my mind there, but Xiaozu had just used the primal. Meanwhile, Graviton from Aga's throne catches Caverna. Leon combines with the self-destruct, and that should be plenty enough for Quad Gaming to get point A.
Callow just going to sustain on this one. 10 seconds left, though, as they manage to get that point. Capture it. Caverna ready to go with some support ults pretty soon here, though. Snail going to be the one to look after here, as he's going to be playing up onto that high ground if he can, but certainly doesn't want to take a 1v1 against HeroFly in this situation because of that armor advantage that HeroFly has from Godman, who did just give him the rally at the end of that last fight. So Caverna coming back into this, it's going to be another head-to-head playing corners against Quad Gaming, something that they struggled on Hollywood.
But this is the Ryan matchup we wanted to see, that we think is going to be a lot more equal between these two teams. Self-destruct into the back, and I don't think the stun is there, but it does force Quad Gaming to go forward. Meanwhile, what a pin. Xiaozu is down. Now the defense might struggle without their main shield, so they have to use the Transcendence Barrier, still available for Callow. And do you really want to double invest here? Cappy Mac gets low, still holding on to the rally. Caverna haven't let this payload move, though.
We see the self-destruct going up. Leon looking for the kill. He somehow dunks it right on Snail's head.
Oh no. That's horrible. And now you had used the barrier, and Caverna have now used 2 support ultimates and have lost this fight. This was a very dragged out attack from Caverna, and they don't ever manage to reset.
They do take some time off the clock, though, so if they can manage to find a successful fight for themselves in this next one, they can sustain long enough to maybe prevent a second point capture from Quad Gaming. But Quad Gaming is just looking so good with this composition after unfortunately losing out a lot of their time bank on that first point to a composition that wasn't working as well here.
Well, you got the Graviton from Maka and Agus, and this is going to be the finisher who decides to keep point A or point B. Oh, he gets... Did he get eaten? It looks like there's only one Graviton on the field, and Transcendence from HeroFly keeps this offense topped up, and Caverna are just all kinds of disorganized right now, and Xiaozu's just by himself in the middle of 6 people. He's going to get bursted down, and Quad Gaming in a fantastic position. I don't know what he was trying to find there, but they're trying to find the end of point B, and it's taken quite some time.
Yeah, this is just a game of time now. Schwazu going to be back in pretty soon. If he can find a way to lay these guys down, it's not going to be an opening that he wants to take advantage of now, though, as his team has crumbled. And that will be another late point capture for Quad Gaming. This is really looking a lot like Hollywood right now. Just barely squeaking through all of these objectives, but looking really, really good with their setups. And not only that, but Leon has been incredibly consistent already with finding these Gravitons once again, something, again, similar to that Hollywood matchup we saw earlier.
Xiaozu has the Shatter, but self-destruct, we'll see if that can top it up. Oh, it's combined with the Shatter, actually. Huge 3K for Silvera, and Caverna looking great. Quad Gaming have to reset, but they're coming back with the Graviton.
Snail, though, has the Transcendence, so it's really going to come down to positioning from Leon. There's so many parallels between this and the way that Hollywood started out as well. We're seeing a lot of aggression coming through from Caverna once again. They are trying to find some late kills, primarily onto this Lucio, who does wind up bobbing and weaving his way back over to the spawn, and it's just going to be a battle here. Maka, again, already with another Graviton ready here, and it's just who can set up quicker. That's going to be the team that wins this next fight.
Got a Shatter from XQC on a budget. The Graviton is thrown, though, for both teams, so nobody's moving and nobody's doing anything. HeroFly used the Transcendence, though, and Snail does not. Both teams survive. Self-destruct from Quad Gaming used, make the space, get back into mech. And XQC on a budget still needs to use the Shatter. They have to use Ponchi's barrier, and there's really no momentum being built until finally the Shatter goes through from XQC on a budget. Barrier from Callow saves Caverna. They still try to push back this offense from the cart, and time is being burnt, and Caverna in the last few seconds just may have hold Quad Gaming here.
Great spacing of support ultimates there. Great stun there to deny XQC on a budget as well. And Caverna, they make the stop. Not only that, but they looked pretty solid throughout. I mean, we did see a little bit of back and forth throughout, right? We did see a couple moments there where Quad were able to take some fights that looked very, very difficult to pull off. I think the main thing that I'm looking at is just Leon and his incredible consistency at not only just taking out opposing gravitons that come out from Maka, but on top of that, his ability to somehow find a way to get in and be able to drop self-destructs on top of the back line of Caverna, somehow finding Snail even in that second stage of the map.
Well, we have a bit of a technical issue. We apologize one more time. We're going to go for a quick break, and when we get back, the next attack will be underway. Welcome back, everybody. Caverna Esports Quad Gaming heading into map 4, and it's going to be the attack this time of Caverna Esports after Quad Gaming failed to finish the map.
Yeah, but they got pretty close here. I mean, Caverna now is in a similar situation to where we saw them on Hollywood. Quad Gaming barely squeaking by, getting 2 points on the board, and then making a very, very solid hold after that first point take. This is a very similar situation where it's going to come down to full sustain from Quad Gaming, and now it's up to Caverna to find a way through this strat that's going to be played out by Quad Gaming. We highlighted it a lot before during a little bit of a pause that we had at the very beginning. If this May does come out, there are some approaches. Caverna just needs to figure one out.
Do they see it coming?
That's one of them. We said that was one of them. We said it was one of them.
Bastion just blow through the wall. Who cares? That might be the solution. And I don't think they brought it out for the May, but that'll certainly be the main use of them now as Gone Man gets ready to set up his wall, but they're taking a lot of poke damage already. Finally, the wall comes up, but the Reinhardt actually gets stuck on the other side. The Bastion now going to try and zoom through and does poke all kinds of damage into not only the Reinhardt shield, but everybody inside of this cave. So Caverna, I think, have figured this May strat out, or how to counter this May strat.
Yeah, and that's the next wall, and a big opening for Maka once again. Oh, he could be taken down, but the Diva gets out of his mech.
Oh, great reaction, and does get all the kills they need to start moving this payload. And that Mei strat, pretty cool to burn some time, but it didn't end up burning that much time at all. And that's when you're going to see the swaps come in.
Yeah, and they're still running this Moira approach. So now we'll see CappyMac playing the Pharah still. He does have the ability to go for a barrage as he's just sitting up above, and they do wind up seeing him. Oh, he can't get away. He could be taken out right here.
Oh, CappyMac has to be so careful. No mercy. Only has to rely on Lucio's and Zenyatta's, and has the barrage. Coalescence started here from HeroFly. Lets it rain down on everybody, not finding any success. Meanwhile, somehow Snail on the Zenyatta gets a 2K. So Caverna slowly building momentum, but they've lost their main tank and they've lost CappyMac, so this will have to be a reset for the offense.
Well, I'm not sure. They're going to keep this thing going. Ponchi's the only person on the point, and somehow, some way, Caverna have battled their way back in. Now there's no support as well for Quad, and that will be a one fight for them, especially as they have their reinforcements.
Yeah, they do have the closer spawns, and it's so back and forth. Quad Gaming trying to get back. You know, the Zarya's around the corner, doesn't have the Graviton yet, and CappyMac will keep Scout as the Pharah.
Cappy going forward as well. I mean, we will see this Pharah probably swap, I imagine, right at this point, and it looks like that is going to be the case. And they could very well go for a continued aggressive approach. Do they want to keep Maka ready for this EMP or what?
Oh, self-destruct exchange from both sides, and actually nobody gets killed from that, surprisingly. Defense starts up the barrier. Xiaozu is down for the offense. No main shield here for Caverna, and both the barrier and the Transcendence from Snail and Callow wasn't enough to save Xiaozu. So it's a lot of momentum lost for Caverna, but they want to be setting up Maka once Xiaozu comes back with that EMP.
Well, he's in the back line. He's scouting everything out, getting information on everybody's position. Nobody's really in a good spot where he can actually just get out a really clutch EMP. Everybody's a little bit too scattered, but he's going to get the Zenyatta anyways.
Oh, and actually, I think he had the health pack hack too, so he couldn't benefit from that. Meanwhile, that EMP was pretty successful. That allowed Caverna to be more aggressive, move forward without any shields from Quad Gaming to worry about, and that's a clean fight win.
Yeah, that's one of those EMPs that you go for that you're like, maybe this will be bad, but it could be good. And it just happened, luckily, fortunately for Caverna to be on the better side. Now Caverna, they have the Earth Shatter ready. They have the setup ready. They don't have the Zarya, though. Maka right now is continuing to play onto this Sombra, so they're not going to have the same protection for Xiaozu going forward, and that might disable the hammer stun that's going to go down.
Yeah, the counter shatter while they were in the middle of the Graviton, but Caverna are so low. Xiaozu's shield is low, and Quad Gaming trying to take advantage of this moment, pushing forward. Shatter goes through from XQC on a budget, and you know he's playing aggressive. Quad Gaming hold the defense, and it's exactly what they have to do if they want to send us into a Game 5. Because if Caverna finish the map or get to the yellow box of victory, that will be the 3-1 win for them.
Definitely have to make sure you get that swap onto Zarya there. I mean, at that stage, you're playing a DPS, but you don't have as much damage pressure or as much threat as what Quad Gaming brings to the table with the Zarya. So now they get the swap. Now they're going forward. Now they have some weapons. Now they can start protecting Xiaozu as well and start looking for a setup kill.
Oh. High ground shatter. You don't see it too often. Self-destruct from Silvera to pair them up. And Caverna are right back where they started, trying to get back to the payload, and Quad Gaming losing Leon, losing HeroFly, and now XQC on a budget is down. Quad Gaming have to quickly retreat and see if they can fit maybe a second bat or another fight at the end of point B.
Sustaining. Caverna looking good. Transcendence ready on both sides. Quad Gaming, though, is the team right now with the upper hand, as they already have their Graviton built. Here's the problem. Caverna, with this Transcendence, should be able to buy enough time for Maka. And if HeroFly is put into a position where he's forced to do something here, nice boop there from Callow, then they could lose that.
Boop some, off of that high ground. Graviton launch from Agus. And you got HeroFly starting in the Transcendence. Both Transcendences out. And you're having Caverna still trying to find a footing on this payload. They haven't built enough space. There's somebody back there, Silvera. Everyone is chasing Silvera. And they get baited into a shatter self-destruct. This was an interesting bait and switch play from Caverna.
especially because Maka is going to hold onto his Graviton, so they can just cleave away into that one because there's going to be no answer for it. Quad Gaming, they don't have the Graviton, they don't have the Shatter, they don't have their support ults as well. So August, he's going to come through with a Doomfist to try to find some way onto the point and start knocking people about, but Caverna could throw them off of it with the Grav. That's a potential pick for Cappy, but he's forced off.
Oh no, and the yellow box of victory is right around the corner, so Quad Gaming have to get back in a hurry and make the space to even get back to get Caverna get caught into a Graviton. And Quad Gaming, though, they're falling apart. Caverna just have a few more meters to push and still contested.
Cappy on an onslaught, though, with this Brig. They're just cleaving away. He and, of course, Schwazu making sure that they get the most of it. That is going to be that, though. Caverna ending it with a solid W.
And the way they made the space around that, and they survived the Graviton that Quad Gaming brought out, it was kind of confusing. Okay, they're in a grab, but they're actually getting the kills with it. So congratulations to Caverna, the 3-1 win. And they were in second place. That would make them pretty solidified for that. We'll have to see in the coming weeks how the seeds will change in the playoffs, but they will be confirmed for playoffs. While as you got to wonder for Quad Gaming, do they still have that spot? Dropping down 1-3? Who knows what the outcome might be? But the outcome here is that we're going to send it over to our Broadcast.gg end desk with Katrina and friends.
Thank you so much, Lemon. And we have closed our day, our week even of Overwatch for South American Contenders. It has been a great ending point to the map. We did see the return of the Igloo composition that we got to know and love in our last matchup. But first, let's take things a bit back to Hanamura with Silviera's impressive play on Doomfist. So, Possible, what made Silviera so impactful on that specific defense and on this map with Hanamura?
Well, despite the fact that we saw him mostly on the Diva today, Silviera originally was a Doomfist player, right? Got brought onto this roster for the Doomfist play. And toward the beginning of this season, we saw Caverna swapping the roles between Silviera and Cappy Mac when it came to who was on that Diva, right? And we still see that, like we saw in Hanamura. But they've tightened it up. They know when and where to do it. And Hanamura is the perfect place because of how the architecture of the map is. There's tons of high ground for Doomfist to just sit on. It gives him so many options for angles of engagement, and the nice tight corridors and the choke points that the attackers are forced through gives him the perfect opportunity to land those one-shot punches onto the squishy targets. And it's very easy for his own diva of Cappy Mac at the time to peel with the defense matrix. Even the Super McCree that Quad Gaming brought out couldn't shut it down because the flashbang, believe it or not, does get eaten by the defense matrix, right? So beautiful decision making there from Caverna Esports on Hanamura.
And it's really similar to what we saw on our very first game today with BH on Hollywood, where we saw the exact same thing, those corridors. And by the time the McCree in your Super McCree comp realizes that Doomfist is anywhere within range, he's already taken out one of your supports. Even if you manage to get him down, their win condition is met. They've taken out one of your supports and disabled like 70% of your GOAT's composition. So it's really difficult. The Super McCree does work against Doomfist Sombra, but in those small, tight, enclosed spaces where Diva can matrix so effectively and Doomfist can appear out of nowhere and take out one of the supports, it's difficult to try and counter with the McCree.
And we do pay a lot of attention to the Divas and the Zaryas because of all of the Graviton surges eaten today, but some players who we haven't really highlighted are those Reinhardts. So Nari, how did that Reinhardt v Reinhardt battle stack up today?
I was really excited to see this Reinhardt battle because over the last couple of weeks, we've been seeing XQC on a budget doing really well. And I've been impressed with his Reinhardt play. But Xiaosu, we've known for a long time, is a good main tank. So this was really one of those matchups that I was really excited to see which one was going to come up on top. Because to me, it seemed like they were probably quite fairly matched. I'm going to say, though, that Xiaosu really outperformed XQC on a budget on this map. It felt to me like there was a little bit more control there. There was a little bit better communication between him and the rest of his team. Positioning was so much better. I mean, we saw a couple of weird Earth Shatters from XQC on a budget. I think it was Shatter or Wall, which is probably due to a boop. But again, you know, you've got to have that awareness. You've got to know what's going on around you. And I think overall, when you stack the two up against each other, Xiaosu just definitely outperformed him.
So Xiaosu was definitely a player to watch, but Possible, if you could choose one player of today's matchup to name as your MVP, who would it be?
I'm going to go with Silveira, right? For two reasons. The Doomfist that we mentioned, but also all day he was finding value on that D.Va. It didn't matter if it was eating grabs or perfect placements of those self-destructs or just peeling for his backline, right? D.Va is a hero that no matter the meta, it has to be able to do everything all at once with beautiful decision-making, and Silveira was able to do that today, and it was one of the many things that helped Caverna triumph.
And what about you, Nari, if you had to choose one player?
I'd say Godman, if I must be perfectly honest. Flexibility that we've seen a bit of Brigitte, a little bit of Pharah, and that Pharah, the ult charge that he managed to get on route was ridiculous. Hitting those shots time and time again, showing us that he's not just a one-trick pony that's being forced onto the Brigitte. As soon as he's allowed to really flex his muscles, he shows up. So I'm going to give it to Godman.
Well, we have been spoiled today with some absolutely incredible Overwatch. Some matches went the distance. Others gave us individual, just great gameplay that needs to go on some reels. But ultimately, I do have to thank my fellow members on the desk, Possible and Naori, the casters, Panda and Labasco, as well as Lemon and Hurix, and of course, the one who makes it all happen, our producer, Mirai. So to all of you at home, good night, and I hope to see you for the next week of South American Contenders.